Welcome to what will be the last debate before the election of the century between Mr. Diamond of the Bearded Dragon Party with a slim lead and Mr. Cheech of the Leopard Gecko Party, who is looking for a final surge before the election. Here are the rules of tonight's debate. They're going to be real loosey-goosey. We'll get an opening statement from Diamond. I will heavily fact check it, guarantee that's going to be necessary. And then we'll move on to several different topics and hear from each candidate to decide which is better for you, Team Leopard Gecko or Team Bearded Dragon. But to decide who gets the opening remark, let's flip a mealworm. Mr. Diamond, you call it in the air.
Give me feet. No, back. Give me back.
And it is. Mr. Diamond, go ahead with your opening remarks.
First, I would like to say thank you so much to all of the critters in the reptile room for coming here to make a huge decision. And the decision between Bearded Dragon and Leopard Gecko is simple. Do you want a big, robust, nearly 2-foot long leader, or some perhaps more colorful, but sure, small, very small, and plenty more shy leader? Mr. Moderator, let me tell you, this guy here hides all day long. All day he hides in his cork tubes, only coming out at night. Is that what you want in a reptile room leader? A shy with small features? Or do you want a big, powerful, some would say when I walk into a room, they say, look at this guy, I bet he could eat a whole deli of crickets, a whole deli of mealworms, and I could. See, I live in a 120-gallon, that's 4-foot by 2-foot by 2-foot mansion. Big enclosure. This guy hiding alone all day long in his 75-gallon shack. Also, we both have a life expectancy of about 20 years, and this guy, here he stands, 15 years old, a father of over 100 babies. Can you believe it? 100 baby leopard geckos. The oldest critter in the reptile room by far, and here I stand, a spry 8-year-old young buck with lots of life left. No.
And that's time. Sorry, Mr. Diamond, you've run out. Mr. Cheech, I'd like to know from you, where do you think that the viewership, if they decide to go with Team Leopard Gecko or Team Bearded Dragon, should get their supplies?
It's, clear and obvious, Dad. Mr. Moderator, Chewy.com is where you get all of your reptile needs. Look, I know I'm old, but I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience, and what's nearly as old as I am is the trusted reputation of Chewy.com, where selection is wide and the price is right.
I'd like to interject. I know I'm supposed to be the moderator and non-biased, but I agree. Chewy.com is where I get all of my needs for my bearded dragons and my leopard geckos and my independent parties like hognose snakes and ball pythons. Whether it's 35% off on select feeders, or you need a brand new enclosure, maybe something big for your bearded dragon or slightly smaller for your leopard gecko, Chewy has all the options and more that you could ever even imagine. If you decide to go with the Bearded Dragon Party, you can find high wattage basking bulbs available on Chewy in several different strengths depending on how big the enclosure is that you choose. Or if you're going to vote for leopard geckos, you can find Arcadia Shade Dwellers, which are finally restocked on Chewy.com. And if you do decide to vote independent, perhaps for the hognose party, we've got bales of aspen you can find at Chewy.com as well as cocoa core, sand, and everything else you might need depending on which reptile you're going to vote for. And Chewy has shown their vote with their dollar. They are a USARK Gold member. This isn't a big box store pretending to care about reptiles. These are real people for the reptiles. Real reptile people. And unlike the other guys who have shady animal practices, Chewy doesn't do any live animal sales, which makes it easy for me to vote with my dollar, and that's why I choose Chewy. Business ethics that only small business can pull off with prices that only big businesses can. So click the link below. Chewy is where I get all my reptile needs, and you can too. Now back to you, Mr. Cheech. I'd like to start with you on the topic of heat, humidity, and lighting because clearly those are very important things for the viewers to decide on which they'd like to pick, Team Leopard Gecko or Team Bearded Dragon.
Well, this one is simple. Mr. Diamond there needs a hot basking spot in basking temps that you wouldn't even believe. Well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and the highest UVB level that bulb manufacturers even make, sometimes up to 14%. This is extra cost to the keeper, and some can't afford the extra cost. It's just not worth it.
No, wait, hold on. Sure, we need high basking temps, higher ambient temps and strong UVB. That is all true. And the UVB, sure, it needs to be changed regularly, but what about leopard geckos? Okay? Have you ever seen a leopard gecko basking joyfully in the middle of the day with their mouth wide open, collecting all those heat? I bet you haven't. Never have. Never seen them powering up to take down some mealworms or crickets. What's more fun for a keeper than to watch their animal go after crickets with such vigor? Absolutely not. These smaller lizards benefit from much lower strength UVB, oftentimes 2 to 6%. It's pathetic, depending, and they barely even use this lighting. What a disgrace, a waste, and not to mention, our humidity is about the same, and let's not talk about diet. I mean, come on, please.
Okay, Mr. Diamond, I appreciate that, but I'd like to give Mr. Cheech the option to go first when we talk about the topic of diet. Mr. Cheech, why is it you think that the Leopard Gecko Party has a leg up on the Bearded Dragon Party when it comes to diet?
This is clear, cut and dry. It's simple. We eat crickets and roaches and other various insects and maybe a pinky mouse once here or there, so sue me. But this is easier and much better than the Bearded Dragon diet. I mean, what are we talking about here? Not only insects several times per week, but greens too? We're talking dozens of dollars and time selecting several different types of greens. They can't eat the same type of greens every single week, every single day.
Listen, no, I'm gonna cut you off. Wrong. It's not worse to be diverse. You see, sure, our diet isn't as easy, but is that such a bad thing? Is it bad to have more? And even if you don't eat the greens, we use them as a toilet, so they don't go to waste, you know? So you guys poop it in one corner in your small enclosure like a trained cat.
Okay, let me take this one home. I think we've decided so far that the leopard geckos have a smaller body size, so they're gonna be a smaller pet than a bearded dragon by over double the margin, and bearded dragons do need a much larger enclosure. These are two things that you definitely want to think about before you pick your candidate of choice. Well, bearded dragons also need much hotter basking temps and ambient temps throughout, plus they're also going to need different UVB requirements, much stronger UVB, and therefore you might need to change it a little bit more frequently. While the diet of the bearded dragon is more diverse, perhaps it might be easier for some people to feed only various insects and maybe a mouse or two, rather than insects, rodents, and also leafy greens. Now, but because this has gone off the rails, let me take it home for you guys and talk about price, availability, and behavior, because it doesn't matter which animal you get if you don't like the way that they act. And something that I'll note is leopard geckos, they like handling, they can deal with handling, but they're more fragile. So if you've got a small child, for example, maybe a bearded dragon might be better for you. They're more robust, they're easier to handle, they'll tolerate handling a lot easier, and their tails don't come off. Leopard geckos can drop their tails if they are intimidated or if they're grabbed on. But of course, if this animal is for you, great. If it's for your child, always remember, it's still your animal, you're responsible, and you need to always observe when your child handles. Also keep in mind, bearded dragons are out during the daytime, and leopard geckos are going to be a night creature. You're going to see them mostly at dawn and dusk, crepuscular. Well, price, availability, and morph, this is a pretty simple one because whether you want a bearded dragon or a leopard gecko, you can find them at every reptile store, you can find them at every expo. It's really, really simple to find either one, and it just depends. If you want a high-end morph, there are lots for leopard geckos and bearded dragons, oftentimes going to thousands of dollars, or you can get normal morphs for sometimes under $50 or under even $25 in the right circumstances. So both are just as easy to find, and both are about the same price. But the cost of upkeep is probably going to be more with the bearded dragon. I would give them closing remarks, but let's just, I want to hear from you. This election is right now, so cast your vote down below, and tomorrow we'll post the results of who is going to be the leader of this reptile room. As always, Patreon, thank you guys so much. You guys got to vote a little bit earlier on in the week. You guys got to cast your ballots earlier, whenever you guys do. You guys get one-on-ones, all that, and more, and all of you who watch the videos, thank you guys so much, and I appreciate you guys hitting the like button and subscribe. Plus, we're going to do a video again next week, every Monday and Thursday. So I'll see you in the next one. All right, boys, that was good. You guys are happy about that? All right, cool.